Empire.
Jon Allen is on the trade block. Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the Jon Con Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, A-M-P-I-R-E. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I have a story up now on ESPN.com, of course, about the Jon Allen situation. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about right now. And this is a bonus podcast. Was not expecting to do one today, but I do think this is sizable enough news because of Allen's stature with the franchise and what it means for the franchise going forward that I wanted to at least talk about it for a few minutes today. And then we'll get back onto other things down the road. Now, couple programming notes before I get to that point. Three things. One, Sam Fortier from the Washington Post will join me on Thursday for another podcast. We'll be talking about this, of course, a little bit, but also about other moves they could make, what this might mean for the future. But again, more than just Jon Allen, just like, trades or re-signings, whatever it is. So then that's one thing. Two, the Gold members doing a private Zoom for you Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern time with the voice of the Commanders, Bram Weinstein. Join me there. Good chance to talk to a couple people who are around the team quite a bit and know quite a lot. So anyways, join us there. It's a good opportunity. I did one for the regular members last week. I do one for the Gold members all the time. So we'll continue this throughout the offseason. Anyway, so join me for that. Then third, don't forget Dan Quinn and Lance Newmark will speak at the Combine on Wednesday. So there'll be more stuff, more things to parse through as we get going here for the offseason. So into the meaty part of the offseason where the moves start to get made. And that's what's happening here at the Combine. That's why this news came out today. And it was something that, listen, when you get every team together and all these national media together, you're going to have news like this come out. And that's certainly what's happening here. So basically, the news is that Jon Allen has been given permission to seek a trade, and Adam Peters confirmed that during his podium session. I'm going to read you what he said, and then we'll get into what all this means for sure. So this is what Peters had to say at the Combine. He said he's another person who's been a great player, a great person for this franchise. He's going into the last year of his deal. We wanted to give him and his representation, who's a really good agent, Blake Baratz. They talked and said they wanted to be able to explore opportunities. So we let them do that. We're staying in contact with them every day. Just texted with them this morning. Really, everything's still on the table in terms of whether it's trade or staying here or whatever. We're still going through that. It's kind of early in the stages. Haven't done a lot of exploring yet, but that's kind of where we're at right now. So there's a couple things that this means, and I'll get into some of the first part is, what does this mean? And so it's not that the agent goes out and orchestrates a trade. What he will do is go to teams and say, would you be interested in Jon Allen? Would you be interested in extending his contract? Because I think that's really the heart of this, because my understanding is from talking to a couple of people that they basically told Jon they weren't going to extend his contract or didn't want to do that right now. So if you want to go look for a trade to find a better fit, then you can go ahead. You have the permission to go ahead and do that. That's what they're doing. So the first part would be the agent talking to teams, and then let's say the Bengals are interested, and they say, okay, yeah, we'd love to extend him. Then the agent would go back and say, hey, listen, we got a team here that's interested in him. See if you can then work out. Then it's up to both teams to see if they can work out proper compensation. And if Washington likes it, then they can make a move there. So that's what that means. It doesn't mean the agent's going to go out there and he's the one, orchestrating like, hey, they'll give you a 2 and you can. Well, he's not the mediator. He's just going to say, like, this team is interested. They've offered. They said they'll sign him to this deal. This is where Jon would want to be. Then it's up to them to see if they can strike a deal. Now, what kind of value would he have? Honestly, I don't think it'd be too high. I think we're looking at a lower round pick, day 3 pick, something in that range. I think you could be looking at like a 6th or 7th round pick, maybe something like that. I don't know that you're going to get more than that. It's funny because I was talking to someone in the league the other day about this, and I think it'd be hard to get more than that. I think if they could get a 5th round pick, that'd be pretty good. But one thing, it's funny because one thing that this person was saying is that he felt like, if anything was made, any move was made with Jon, that it would be more of a pay cut, not an extension. And so clearly, I don't think he would want to do that. But so why are they making this move then? Why do they have to do this? Or they don't have to do this, but why are they doing it? Why are they letting him go out and seek a trade? One is to see like maybe he can find a better spot for him. Because one thing you don't want to do is you now this is introduced to the public. Now everybody knows it, players know it, everybody knows it. And then if he goes back to the team, it goes in the locker room, they know that the team didn't have any interest in extending him. How does that impact his relationship in there? Whatever, not just him, but I remember talking to a GM years ago about a situation like this, and it was more about pay cuts. And he was like, there's some players who, rather than, because I remember asking, why don't you just offer them a pay cut, and they may find, in this case, the player might find a similar deal on the open market. So why not just offer them to come back? Because some players just don't want to do that because they don't want to come back in the locker room having taken a pay cut. And then what would happen in some of those cases, like they may be outperforming a guy next to them. It's like, wait a minute, you asked me to take a pay cut and I'm playing better than this guy. So it creates an issue. They weren't offering the pay cut here. It was more or less, I was told it was more or less, not going to extend. So if you want to go out and do this, then go ahead and do this. Now, if right now he would count 22, 23 million on the salary cap. If they cut him or trade him, they would save 16.3 million on the salary cap. Now, Washington has the third most cap space available, but they also have more. There's only one team that has fewer players under contract right now, and it's Kansas City. So they have a lot of guys they're going to have to resign. That's going to take up a lot of that available cap space. They have 28 unrestricted free agents. So this allows you to then sign those guys back, do what you want to do, and then go out and maybe make a few more moves. Now, I do expect them to be, as Adam Peters said today, that they would be active in free agency, but they have so many guys. Part of that activity is re-signing players. So, but this allows you to then make some more moves. Now, what if you want to trade for Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp? I think both those things would be on the table for this team because both those players would make sense here. So I think those are things that this allows you to do that and then go out and sign some other guys. And the free agent types, like I've told you before, think about the Luvu Biadish types. That's the wheelhouse of what they would probably like to do in this free agent class. A lot like last year, right? Because that's when they got those guys. And, does it mean they wouldn't sign some older guys like they did that last year too? I don't know. And I think then it depends on the makeup of the team and how many older guys you want to bring in because you still want to build and keep building that core. So a move like this would allow them to do that. Now, as Peter said, he said that everything remains on the table. That could include him coming back. Is that a possibility? If I had to rank the four possibilities, I would probably put that third. In other words, trade, cut, return at the same deal. And maybe, listen, if you did that, if he said like, yeah, I'm okay with that, then, and these guys are okay with it, then that could happen. And then, then he either plays out the deal or maybe he plays well enough that you give him 2 more years, whatever it is. So, and then, or he leaves as a free agent and you get maybe a comp pick that you would have gotten in this year's draft. And then the fourth one would be the extension. It doesn't sound like that would be likely. I put that as like kind of a distant fourth. So I think it'd be one of the top 3. And once you start letting them talk to teams, it's just, he could find a team that's like, yeah, he'd rather be here because they're going to give him extension. And then you go where they want you for the next couple of years. And every player wants to be wanted, even a guy who's playing in his hometown. Now, in the past, if you remember at the 2023 deadline, one team did call about him. It was Seattle. I was told there was no real offer made because he was not available. But it was at least one team that interested. Now, Pete Carroll was coaching there. It was a different defensive system. You have Mike McDonald there now. Carroll's in the Raiders. I don't know that either of those teams would have any interest at this point. It does sound like a couple teams at least have interest in him for sure. Why wouldn't you? He's still a very capable player. He's only 30 years old. But when you start looking into value, then it's like now you're going to extend him plus give up a pick. And he is coming off a year where he did have the torn pec. And he did return from that. And it was a really good, it was credit to him for coming back in that situation because initially he was thought to be out for the year, of course. Now, when he came back, did he have the kind of year that he'd been having? No, he was not at that Pro Bowl level, but he can still be a quality defensive starting tackle in the league. It just depends then how do you value just what he does at the cost and the draft pick. So, he did come back for the playoffs. He wasn't making the same high level of impact plays that he had in the past. So you have to take all that into consideration if you're Washington. John has been he's a definite alpha male. And I think, when you are that way, like you're not shy about vocalizing about what, things that maybe you're asked to do. And I think, that's who he is, and it's why he's been really good. He definitely has an idea of what makes him successful, and he's going to push you to make sure that what's the best thing for him and his game. So, anyways, he has been a very good player here, as you know. Like, don't let this year sully what he had done here for a while. He was a good player here, a very good player at times too. A couple Pro Bowls. So anyway, and it mattered to him to win here. And when Josh Harris bought the team, the two guys they had who represented the franchise at the pep rally were Terry McLaurin and Jon Allen, because those guys, they've been very vocal about it. One of the good things for this franchise last year was they brought in more guys who were the leader types, so it kind of spread things out, and you had a lot more. Just a lot more voices being heard who could speak for things. Because I think in the past, it would sometimes there's too few guys here who were really at that level to really go to. Last year, they had a lot more: Ertz, Wagner, Eckler, et cetera. So, and Jaden Daniels, of course. So anyways, but that's the situation that's going on. The other thing from the combine, Martin Mayhew's going to retire. Senior personnel executive, was the GM under Ron Rivera. So he's gonna Anna Peters announced that he's gonna be retiring. Sounds like that's been in the works for a few weeks for sure, but they announced it today. And props to Martin for going out on his own terms. And he's a quality professional in the NFL. So props to him, good dude. And Peter said he's a guy that he leaned on a lot. Worked with him in San Francisco, wanted to keep him here. And, but now he's riding off. And I don't know that they're going to replace him. I don't know yet. Peter said he wasn't sure on what they were going to do there. I don't know that they have to. He does have other guys, Lance Newmarks, Brandon Sosna, though those guys he really kind of leans on for sure a lot. So I think, as long as he has those guys, I think he's in pretty good shape. Obviously, they have a pretty strong front office right now. But the big news today was Jon Allen. And I think I told you the other thing that Peter said that they would be active, but a lot of that activity includes signing their own guys back. So anyways, folks, again, bonus podcast. Appreciate you tuning in. I'll be back on Thursday with another episode talking to Sam Fortier from the Washington Post. So talk to you next time.